everybody. I just got back from yoga and I'm extremely tired because my yoga class is actually really, really difficult. And I thought that this would be a good time for me to share a little bit about goal setting with you because completing yoga is part of one of my goals that I've set for myself each week. So, one of my goals is that I will do at least one yoga class per week. I could do more if I like, but I just try to do at least the one. And I also have a goal of walking at least 3 miles per week, which for me is a big deal because I know you guys don't know this, but for the past 20 years, I struggled with an illness. I didn't know what it was. I finally was able to get it diagnosed, and I'm now in treatment and doing much better. But for the longest time, I was struggling to exercise. I was actually not allowed to exercise at all. And I could barely walk 2 years ago. So today I actually am able to walk. I've walked up to 7 miles. I walked a lot. Um, I have my little health app and it tells me how many miles I walk and so I can keep track. And for me, that's amazing. But of course, I always want to up it a little bit and get even better. And so my ultimate goal or my long-term dream for this particular goal is that I would like to see myself running again. I haven't run in a long time. My doctor has not given me the clearance to run yet. So when I do get that clearance, I will be running. But for now, I'm working on walking and just working within the parameters that I have for myself. So you're going to be setting some goals this week, and we have a goals worksheet. And on that worksheet, you'll notice that you have to put your goals in a particular format. And that format is called DAPPS. The DAPPS is an acronym that stands for Dated, Achievable, Personal, Positive, and Specific. So let's start with dated. So when you're setting your goals, I want you to make sure that your goals have some kind of date on them. And I don't mean like I'm going to start on this date. It's like okay, start date doesn't matter really. You can start whenever you want. You can make that a part of your goal. But I need a finish date. Like, when are you going to do this goal? When will you have it completed by? Or progress goal where you're showing I'm going to do this particular thing this many times a week or this many times a day or something along those lines. So you're either showing by what date you're going to complete it or how many times a week and how often and maybe for how long you're going to do it. So that will give you the dated part. Okay, the achievable part is it has to be achievable for you. So it has to be something that you believe that you are capable of achieving. So we're all different, and so that may be different for each person. So like for me, I can't run right now, but for you, you probably can. So you could set a goal, I'm going to run 5 miles if you wanted to. I cannot set that goal yet, even though I have that in the back of my mind as like a long-term dream that I have for myself is to be able to run 5 miles. But right now that can't be a goal for me because I don't have the clearance to do that. And I'm really not ready for that goal yet. So you have to kind of think about where you're at and what is achievable based off of what you've already done and what you know about yourself. So if you're saying, I want to graduate from college by next week, and you're still in the middle of taking classes, it's mid-semester, that's not really possible. So you can't put that as a goal because it's not achievable for you right now. If graduating next semester is achievable for you, then you can make that as a goal if it's achievable for you. Some people who are millionaires right now are like, I would like to make another $1 million by next month. Maybe for them that's achievable, but I'm a teacher, so I'm not going to make $1 million by next month. So if I say I'd like to make $1 million by next month, that's a pretty crazy goal. It's not really achievable for me based off of where I'm at now. So you want to make the goal personal. So that's the next P. So you got dated, achievable, personal. Personal, it's about you and you. So you have to be in control of the goal. So I can't say something like my mom's going to take me to school every day because that's my mom. And I'm not in control of my mom because I'm not my mom. But I could say I'm going to find a ride to school every single day. And that would be, personal because I'm taking responsibility for finding that ride. That makes sense? So it has to be something that you're personally in charge of in your life. It's something that you are actually going to do. So when I say I'm going to go to one yoga class a week, that's something that I physically can get in the car, drive over there and get to yoga and do it. If I couldn't do that, then I could set that as a goal. All right, so we got dated, we got achievable, we got personal, we got another P. It has to be a positive goal. So you don't want a goal that's going to bring you down, which I think most people know about goal setting. It's almost intuitive that goals are supposed to be positive and take you to a more positive level. So you don't want to make a goal like, I want to be a crack whore by next summer, because obviously becoming a crack whore is not a good thing, right? So you don't want to set that goal. If I was already a crack whore and I wanted to set a goal, I'm not going to be a crack whore by next summer, or I'm going to quit crack by next summer, then that would be a positive goal, so I could set that. Then we've got the last goal. So the dated, achievable, personal, and positive part, that's like half the battle. The rest of the battle is making your goals specific enough so that way you can tell whether or not you've achieved the goal by the time you're done. So every week, I usually run my goals Monday through Sunday. So I start on Monday, and then on Sunday, I end my week. And you can start and end your week whenever you want, if you have weekly goals. If you have monthly goals, then it's kind of like makes sense, start at the beginning of the month and at the end of the month, and start a new month. Because some of your goals are going to be monthly, some of them are going to be weekly, some of them might even be daily. Like every day, I'm going to tell my mom I love her. Okay, that's a good goal. You can't really set goals that will make other people do stuff. So like if I want to make my mom love me more, I can't really do that because I can't force my mom to love me more. But I could take actions that might up the chances that my relationship with my mom would improve. So if I said something like, I'm going to give my mom a hug every day, or I'm going to tell my mom I love her every day, or once a month I'm going to write my mom a letter explaining how I feel about her. Something like that might be a good goal because it would get you closer to kind of what you're looking for, which is a better relationship with your mom. But you can't really like hold your mom up at gunpoint and force her to love you, right? Or make her love you more just by willing it to be so. So doing some actions that might encourage that love to grow might be a good way to spend your time, and creating your goals for that. So what about a specific goal? So I want to tell you why my goals are specific. So maybe that will help you set specific ones for yourself. So for me, when I say I want to go to one yoga class a week, so it's really specific because the class has to be yoga and I have to just go once a week. Now, I could get crazier and be like, I'm going to go to one yoga class that's at least 1 hour long, because I could kind of fudge up and cheat and just go to like a 20-minute yoga class. I don't think any of those really exist. But I'm saying, like, if I really wanted to fudge my goals a little bit, I could be like, well, the timeline, I don't have to go to a full hour worth of yoga as long as I just go to a yoga class, right? So, I mean, I would say my class should be at least 45 minutes. So I want to go to at least one 45-minute class a week. So then when at the end of the week, if I look back and I've gone, let's say I went to 3 yoga classes this week, I've achieved the goal. And not only have I achieved it, but I've tripled it, which is amazing. But then next week it starts over again. So I have to then go to another yoga class that week in order for me to achieve that goal. So I'm creating a goal that is repetitive. So every single week, it's a new opportunity to achieve the goal. So even if I mess up one week, then I have the following week to do that. Because I have messed up, because I've gotten sick. I actually hurt my back at one point, and I wasn't able to go for a week because I had to let my back heal. And so I wasn't able to achieve that goal that week for that reason. And I was able to be like, okay, it's all right. Sometimes you can't do the goal because you've got other stuff going on. As long as that's not like every week, then you're doing pretty good. Same thing with my walking goal. Like some weeks it's freezing or raining or whatever, and I just don't get to it because the day that I was going to go, it just didn't work out or something like that. But I would say more weeks than not, I do achieve the goal. Now, when it comes to weekly or monthly goals that are repetitive like that, you don't just want to keep doing the same thing over and over again unless it's working for you, because you won't progress. So at some point, when I get a little more strength and endurance, I'm probably going to up it to I'm going to walk 4 miles a week. Or I will up it. I'm going to do 2 yoga classes a week, or I'm going to up the class. So I did that once. I started with the intro class. Now I'm doing the intermediate class, which is really hard. I can't even imagine that there's a harder class than that, but there is. So I'm at the right level for me. And that's what you got to ask yourself is this goal still challenging? Because if it's not challenging to you, then it's not a good goal. You need to up it a little bit so it is a challenge. You don't want it to be too hard though, okay? So you want it to be the right level, just a little bit above where you are now, but not so hard that it's like you're stretching to get to the next goal. So you want your goals to be like that, specific enough that you can look back over your week and say, did I achieve this goal? Or you can look at the timeline and go, did I do this properly? Now let me talk about another type of specific, because if you don't set a good set of parameters for your goals when you start, then as you go along, you'll find that you start to cheat or fudge a little bit on your goal. So let me give you an example. So let's say I want to eat more healthfully, and that's what I want to set my goal about. If I just say the goal, I'm going to eat more healthfully for the next 2 weeks. So let's say I'm giving myself a 2-week period, so it's dated, right? But it's not really super specific, because what do I mean by eating healthfully? I could mean a number of things, and eating healthfully for different people could be different things. Like maybe you're diabetic, and so your eating healthy is going to look different than somebody who isn't diabetic. Maybe you're overweight right now and you're trying to lose weight, so you're going to be on a weight loss diet. Whereas I'm trying to gain weight, and maybe I'm going to be eating healthfully, but for me, it's a weight gain diet. So you see what I'm saying here is your diet has to be specific enough to where you know what the hell you're supposed to be eating for the next 2 weeks, because otherwise you're just going to cheat, you know? So an easy way to solve this problem is to use a diet that already exists. So let's say I'm a diabetic. I might say I'm going to eat according to the American Heart Association's diabetic guidelines for the next 2 weeks. Let's say you're on a weight loss diet and you're like, okay, I'm going to eat according to Jenny Craig for the next 2 weeks. Or let's say you want to go vegan. I want to eat vegan for the next 2 weeks. And that's your idea of what a healthy diet is. But what I'm trying to say is if you don't say what the diet is supposed to contain or not contain, what's okay on the diet, what isn't okay on the diet, make a list, figure it out, set rules, set parameters for yourself. So that way, when you do start going along on your goal, you know whether something is on the list or not. So let's go with the vegan diet. So let's say our goal is for the next 2 weeks, we are going to eat vegan. So that means no meat, no dairy, and we'll even say no eggs. Okay, so no meat, no dairy, no eggs. That means no ice cream unless it's vegan ice cream, no cookies unless they're vegan cookies. Okay, so we know the parameters. We're doing it for 2 weeks. Let's say we start today, and today is Monday. So we'll start today and we'll cruise all the way through, not next Monday, but the Monday after. So we have to eat vegan for that 2 weeks. What if I go about this diet and I start cheating on it? Like let's say I'm a week in and I'm just completely cheating on the diet. I'm not eating vegan anymore. I'm eating hamburgers. I'm eating pizza with pepperonis on it. I'm drinking milk. I just completely disregarded my goal. Okay, so let's say that happens. If that does happen to you, and trust me, it happens sometimes when you set goals, you have to look at why you're having a struggle, why you're cheating, why this isn't going as easily as it should go, okay? If you fail at your goal, it does not mean that you set a bad goal. It means that you might have set a goal that was a little bit too ambitious for where you currently are. So 2 weeks is a long time to be on a diet. 2 weeks is a long time to try something out too. And it also, it can seem kind of endless if you go from like eating meat and all this stuff all the time to just going completely vegan overnight. That's really difficult to do. So you might want to be a little less crazy and set a goal like this instead. So if you screw up, regroup, figure out a better goal, okay? So let's reset that goal. Let's not do 2 weeks this time. Let's do 3 days. For the next 3 days, I am going to eat, let's not say vegan. Let's say I'm going to eat a diet that does not contain meat. So I'll eat meat-free for 3 days. That sounds a little easier, doesn't it? That way we're not having to block out a whole bunch of food groups at once. We're just blocking out one food group. And of course, with diets, you should always ask your doctor if it's okay for you to do that first, especially if you're under the doctor's care. Like I know for myself, I would never go on a diet that my doctor didn't okay or recommend, okay? But let's say I'm just like, okay, my doctor recommended this. He recommended I go vegan, but I don't want to just do this overnight because I think that's unrealistic. I'm not going to be able to just change all of my behaviors in 2 weeks, right? So I'm going to just cut out meat for 3 days and see how I do. See what I mean? So it's very clear. The diet is clear. Don't eat meat. You can eat everything else. We're not worried about sugar. We're not worried about other stuff. I mean, I get that those things are unhealthy, but just one brick at a time, okay? That's what I want you to focus on when you're creating these goals. You want to lay one brick at a time. So when you get used to eating no meat for 3 days, ask yourself, can I continue with this? Can I do another 3 days? And another 3 days. Once I feel comfortable not eating meat, then I can maybe go, okay, now let's get rid of the dairy. So I'm approaching a vegan diet, but I didn't just go from 0 to vegan overnight because for me, that's unrealistic. And for most people, it's unrealistic to make that kind of a drastic change. So you want your changes to be little. You definitely want to have like an overarching dream in mind. So my dream is I want to go vegan, but my goal is I'm going to just do it one little step at a time here. Let me give you another example of something being specific and not specific, okay? So let's say that I want to run 5 miles. So ultimately, that's my dream, guys, is I would love to see myself run like a 5K or even a 10K. So I want to run 5 miles someday. Way off in the future for me, but I do. So let's say I can run a little bit. So I'm going to start out and I'm going to say I want to run 1 mile. Okay, so let's say I'm going to run 1 mile. A lot of people would make the mistake of saying my goal is to run 5 miles and I'm going to run it this week. Okay, so let's say I haven't been running in ages. I go out to the track and I start running. How far do you think I'm going to get if I haven't run in a long time? And I set this goal to run 5 miles. How far do you think I'll make it before I get tired and I want to stop? I'm going to say like maybe I'll run a mile tops, but more realistically, I'll probably run like half a mile and start to really feel like the side cramps and stuff and probably die. So I'll just die right there on the track. And then I will feel like a total failure. I will just be like, I set a goal. I was going to run 5 miles. I only made it, half a mile. I'm a freaking loser. I hate myself. Okay, and that's what a lot of people do with goals is they set like a huge goal for something that they haven't even started working on yet, and they expect just to go from 0 to 100 overnight and just achieve that goal without even putting any effort or trying. Okay, so running 5 miles is hard. You're not just going to be able to go out and do that unless you've already been kind of running. If you already run a lot, let's say you've run 5 miles before and, every once in a while you do that, then running 5 miles really isn't that big of a goal, and you could set that as a goal and you could do it and it would probably be no big deal, right? But for those of us who haven't run in a while, going out there and running a 5 miles, we're probably not going to be able to do that. And we're going to feel pretty lousy about ourselves when we're not able to achieve it right away. I think we're so used to we want that gratification right now. But let's talk about another goal like school. How long does it take to get to graduation? So your goal is you would like to graduate, but that's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take, for some of you, it's going to take several more years. For some of you, it's going to take several more semesters. Maybe for some of you, it's within grasp this year. But either way, it's not happening right now. So what would be your goal for right now if your goal is to graduate? Right now, you'd want to focus on getting your classes accomplished. And one good goal that you could set right now is I'm going to study my notes every single night. So every day studying my notes for all my classes. If you did that, that would be a fantastic goal. That would help you, that would help you to achieve your bigger goal, which is to graduate. You could set, a goal like, I would like to pass my classes with a certain grade this semester. But the problem with that is it's also kind of a long-term goal because it's still like a 3-month goal or something like that. But that's something that I could see you writing down for this assignment. I'm going to get an A in Guidance 507, or I'm going to get a B in Guidance 507. And that's a pretty good workable goal for this semester. The goals you're going to be working on for this worksheet are for the semester. So that would be a good semester-long goal. But of course, you would want to be focused also on what can I do right now? What about this week? So this week, if I want to graduate and I want to get a good grade in this class, my goal this week should be to do the reading and to do my homework and turn it in on time. And if I do that every week, then eventually I'm going to get to that bigger goal, which is getting the good grade. So by breaking your goals down into smaller pieces like that to where they're more achievable, it's easier for you. So let's go back to the running thing. You might feel like a loser if you can't run 5 miles if that's your goal, right? So why not set your goal in a more realistic fashion and say, it's my first time out. I would like to run 0.25 miles, which is a quarter mile. So 2 laps around a track. If you haven't run in a while, running 2 laps around a track, I think is still doable. Just make sure you stretch first, right? So if you set that as your goal and you go out and you achieve it, like let's say you run the 2 laps, you feel pretty good about it because you're like, I set a goal, I handled it, and I achieved it. So let's look at it. We ran the same amount, right? We ran 2 laps, 0.25 miles, right? But when we have our goal set at, I want to run 5 miles, and then we only run 0.25, then we feel kind of crappy about ourselves. We feel shitty about us. But when we set the goal more realistically and say, I want to run 0.25 miles, and then we run 0.25 miles, then we feel pretty good about what we've done. So what would you rather do? Would you rather set more realistic goals that you can achieve and then build on? Or would you rather set a goal that's so lofty that you can't achieve it and then feel like you're not getting anywhere because you're not going fast enough or you're not reaching that goal quickly enough? And that's what a lot of people do. And that's where I think the mistakes with goal setting come into play, is that people use goals to try to make up for lost time. So maybe they haven't been doing what they're supposed to do, and now they suddenly just want to jump from here to the finish. It's like when you're running a marathon and, you're not going to just, like if everybody's been running ahead of you and you've been sitting there drinking water for 2 hours, you're going to come in 2 hours later than the other people. You can't make up all that time. It's just not going to happen. Nobody can run that fast, right? Especially with that long of a distance. So the longer the distance or the more far off your goal is, I think the harder it is to maintain that daily progress towards what we are working towards. And that's what I'm trying to teach you now, is that by setting these little goals that are every week that you can kind of focus on. So each week I'm going to do this. Each week I'm going to do that. You're going to see progress. And that's what we're looking for. So you'll set one goal and achieve it. And then from there, you want to set another goal that's just right above that. And then another goal right above that. So it's almost like a ladder and you're climbing it. Instead of what we normally do, which is people will be here and they'll set a goal way up here. And then they'll expect just to be able to get there without having to do all the steps in between. And let's face it, we need those steps in between. Those are our building steps. Those are our learning steps that help us to build the strength that we need to get to the finish line, So it's the difference between, I guess, just getting a piece of paper that says you graduated and not having anything to show for it because you don't remember anything that you learned, and actually taking those little steps and doing the work so that you get the information into your long-term memory. So when you graduate and get the diploma, you actually know the information and you have something to show for it at the end of your education. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I started out not being able to do yoga at all. And Today I did a pose that I've never done before called the crow's pose. And crow pose is actually really difficult. You are basically bouncing on your hands and you have to lift your legs up off the ground. So you're basically on your hands and resting your legs on, I guess, look it up online. Just look up crow pose. I've been working on this pose for a year, one whole year. And that's crazy. I've only been back at yoga for a year after my long term time of not being able to work out at all. So for me to hit a crow pose is crazy. Of course, nobody was jumping up and down for me because a lot of people in the class, I was looking around like all these people are doing it. All of the other people in the class have been able to do this pose for a long time. I'm the person that hasn't been able to do it. But the fact that I got it today, I was really happy and proud of myself. But when I'm looking at what other people are doing, if I was just looking at them and going, oh man, all of them can do crow pose and I can't do crow pose, I'm a loser, you know? That's not the case. The thing is, we're all at different points and we all have different abilities and skill levels. And so my body is different than somebody else's body. So for some people, crow pose is probably pretty easy. But for somebody like me that doesn't have a lot of upper body strength, it's rather difficult. And so for me, it's a fantastic achievement to be able to do this pose. And maybe for other people, it's not that big of a deal. But for me, it is. And so we have to celebrate our own little small victories, whatever those are, and not really worry too much about what everybody else is doing because everybody else is running at a different pace. Everybody else has a different skill set and different abilities than we do. And so when we achieve something that was hard work for us, that should be a celebration. We should be really excited about that. And that's what I want for you guys when you're setting your goals. I want you to set them in such a way that when you do achieve them, that you feel a sense of pride and mastery in what you've just done. And that comes from setting goals that are not too easy, but that aren't too hard either. So we want to set something that is achievable for us, but just not so easy that we can just do it without thinking about it, if that makes sense. So I look forward to checking out your goals worksheets this week. I do want you to set some goals for this semester in terms of over the next few months, what would you like to see yourself achieve? All right. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.